Women
She
are
says
easily
she
attracted to
wants a
men
stable
who know
man,
these things.
but the
Ever wondered
moment you
how
become
certain men seem to
predictable, she
constantly get the
pulls
attention
away.
of women,
She craves
whereas you're usually
consistency,
stuck,
yet lights up
the
at
first
mystery.
few dates.
If you've ever felt confused by a woman's mixed signals, it's because you never learned the secret. She doesn't want one or the other. She wants both. Let's be real. Most men don't truly understand women. They think it's all about being tall, rich, or having a six-pack. But women, real women, are more complex than that. And the truth: every woman, no matter how poised, powerful, or perfect she may seem, has her own set of dirty little weaknesses. Not dirty in the way you might be thinking, but raw, real, and vulnerable traits that most men never notice. And even fewer know how to use wisely. Let's expose them one by one. 1. Emotional validation addiction. Every woman, even the strongest, independent one, craves emotional reassurance. If she says she doesn't care about what you think of her, she's lying. Deep down, women need to feel chosen, that they're the exception, not just another option. The man who knows how to feed her emotions without begging for her approval, he wins. 2. The fantasy of control. Women want to feel in control, especially in the early stages. She'll play hard to get, keep you guessing, and act like she's pulling the strings. But the twist: she's waiting for you to take control at the right moment. The man who understands this knows when to lean back and when to lean in. 3. Competition with other women. She might act like she doesn't care what other women are doing, wearing, saying, but she watches. She compares, she competes even silently. If another woman gets more attention from you, that stings badly. A man who subtly triggers this competitiveness without being disrespectful keeps her desire burning. 4. Craving mystery, but begging for consistency. Yes, she wants a man who's intriguing, unpredictable, someone who's not too easy to read. But mess with her sense of consistency and she'll spiral. She wants emotional safety and excitement both. The paradox: most men either give her routine or chaos. Few know how to blend both. 5. Power games. Women test not because they're cruel, but because they need to feel secure. She'll push your buttons just to see how you respond. Will you crumble? Will you react? Or will you stay grounded? The man who passes her tests doesn't need to win arguments. He just doesn't flinch. 6. Craving leadership but fearing submission. She wants a man with vision, direction, a backbone. But society's taught her that submission is weakness, so she resists, she argues, she challenges, not because she doesn't want to follow, but because she needs to trust who's leading. Lead with strength, not ego, and she'll follow in silence. 7. The addiction to drama. Some women live for emotional highs and lows. If things are too calm, too stable, she creates chaos, not because she's toxic, but because she's addicted to the emotional spike. Smart men recognize this and don't react, they redirect. They anchor her emotions, not drown in them. 8. The deep fear of not being enough. Underneath the makeup, confidence, career is the
Women are
whisper.
easily attracted to
Am I
men who
truly
know these
enough?
things. Ever wondered
Most
how
women
certain men
hide
seem
it
to
well,
constantly get the
but it
attention of women,
lingers. A man
whereas
who
you're
sees her
usually stuck,
insecurities without
the
using
first
them
few dates.
against her becomes unforgettable. He becomes safe, and safe men are rare. 9. The obsession with how she's perceived. From her Instagram story to her outfit at brunch, everything is curated. Women are deeply aware of how they're seen. A man who makes her feel beautiful without saying a word, who sees her beyond her image, unlocks something few ever reach. 10. Her desire to surrender. Every woman has a secret desire to let go, to stop overthinking, planning, proving, pleasing, but she needs someone she trusts to take that burden off, not control her but free her, and that only happens when she's with a man whose presence is calm, grounded, and firm. Every woman, no matter how strong, confident, or seemingly independent she may appear, carries a deep emotional craving that often goes unnoticed by most men. It's not about gifts or grand gestures. It's not even about constantly showering her with compliments. It's something far more subtle and far more powerful: emotional validation. This is the addiction that drives so many of her decisions, moods, and reactions. She wants to feel seen, not just looked at. She wants to feel heard, not just listened to. She wants to know that she matters, not just in the physical sense, but emotionally, spiritually, mentally. Even when she says, "I don't need anyone," what she really means is, "I don't want to be disappointed again." And therein lies the secret. Women are not as emotionally detached as they sometimes pretend to be. Most of that toughness is armor, not truth. Most of that "I'm fine" is camouflage, not comfort. Underneath all of it is a woman who is deeply tuned into how you make her feel. Not what you give her, not what you say to her, but how she feels when she's around you. That's what she remembers. That's what sticks. That's what keeps her coming back or walking away. Men often confuse this craving for validation with neediness. But it's not. It's a psychological wiring that runs deeper than logic. Validation doesn't mean giving in or constantly agreeing with her. It means being emotionally aware and present. It means noticing when she changes her tone, or when her energy shifts, or when she gives you a look that says, "I need reassurance right now." It means knowing the difference between when she needs advice and when she just needs you to listen without fixing anything. It means catching her off guard with the kind of affirmation that isn't rehearsed or expected. It's the small things: a glance that lingers, a hand held in silence, a text that says, "I see you." These things matter to her more than you think. The women who seem like they have it all together, they need it the most. The ones who carry themselves with pride, power, and poise, they are the ones most likely to go to bed feeling unseen. Because society has taught them to be strong, to be untouchable, to never show weakness, and so they build walls, but those walls don't erase the craving. They just hide it better. Emotional validation is the oxygen of feminine energy. Without it, she suffocates in silence. With it, she blossoms, she feels safe, she relaxes, she trusts. And when a woman trusts you emotionally,
Women are easily
everything
attracted
else
to men
flows
who know
naturally.
these things.
But
Ever
most
wondered how
men miss
certain
it.
men seem
They
to
think being
constantly
a
get their
man means
attention from
holding
women,
back affection,
whereas you're usually
playing it
stuck,
cool,
on that
acting
first few dates?
indifferent. But the truth is, the man who knows how to validate a woman without being a simp, without losing himself, without giving away his power, that man becomes unforgettable. She may not even be able to explain why she keeps thinking about him, but she does. She replays the way he made her feel. He made her feel chosen, special, not because of her looks, her body, or her performance, but just because of who she is. A man like that is rare, and women know it instantly. Women remember how you made them feel long after they forget what you did or said. You could buy her 100 roses, and she'll still feel empty if you never looked her in the eyes when she was opening up. You could take her on the most luxurious vacation, and she'll still feel disconnected if you never made her feel emotionally secure. On the flip side, you could do something as small as remembering something she said in passing, and it will light her up from the inside out. Because she'll think he was listening, he cared, I mattered. There's a silent game women play that most men never see coming. It's not loud, it's not obvious, but it's powerful. It's the illusion of control. In the beginning, a woman will almost always try to run the show. She'll lead the conversation, set the pace, decide when to engage and when to withdraw. She'll test your responses, push your limits, and see how far she can bend the dynamic before you break. But what's happening underneath is more interesting, because while she's acting like she's in control, what she's really doing is observing. She's watching your confidence, your sense of direction, your ability to stand your ground without being confrontational. She's trying to figure out if you're the kind of man she can surrender to or the kind of man she has to lead. And let's be honest, no woman wants to lead a man forever. She'll say things like, I like taking charge, or I don't mind making decisions. But deep down, she craves to be with someone who doesn't just follow her lead, but challenges her direction with calm certainty. She doesn't want to dominate the relationship. She just doesn't want to end up with someone she has to babysit emotionally. A man who chases too hard, gives in too quickly, or lets her steer every move becomes boring, predictable, and eventually replaceable. Women respect what they can't completely control. They're drawn to men who are aware of the game, but don't need to play it to win. The moment you start reacting to her every move, trying to adjust constantly to please her or keep her happy, you've already lost her interest, because now she knows she has the power, and power without respect becomes boring. This is why some women fall for the man who doesn't respond immediately, the man who listens more than he talks, the man who doesn't flinch when she tries to test his patience. He doesn't need to compete. He's just centered, grounded, clear. That's attractive, that's rare, and she feels it. She may push harder. She may become more distant or even more controlling for a moment, just to see if you'll lose your balance. But if you stay steady, not cold, not arrogant, just unmoved by the chaos she creates, she starts to lean in. She starts to trust. She begins to relax in your presence. That's when the illusion fades and the real woman begins
Women
to
are
show.
easily attracted to
Men
men
who
know
don't
these things. Ever
understand
wondered
this
how certain men seem to
up-thinking
constantly
women
get the
are
attention of women,
complicated or
whereas you're
manipulative,
usually stuck,
but they're
you know,
not.
the first few
Women
dates.
are emotional by design, and emotions always seek direction. They flow like water. If there's no structure, no container, they flood. But if there's a strong foundation, they rest, they nourish, they support. That's why control in a relationship is never about domination. It's about emotional leadership. She doesn't want you to dominate her. She wants to know that if she breaks down, you won't. That if she becomes chaotic, you become calmer. That if she doubts herself, you won't doubt who you are. That's the real test. Can you hold your frame when she can't hold hers? Can you lead even when she thinks she knows the way better? Can you love her without needing to be liked every second? This is the hidden dynamic that separates the boys from the men. Boys chase validation. Men anchor presence. Boys give in to emotional storms. Men become the calm within them. Women are drawn to strength, not bravado, and strength doesn't shout. It doesn't force, it just is. And when she feels that presence, she slowly lets go of the wheel. Not because you demanded it, but because she finally feels safe enough to. No matter how much a woman claims she's not in competition with anyone, there's always another woman in her mental mirror. It's not something she'll admit out loud. It's not always visible, but it's there, the unspoken race, the silent comparisons, the need to stand out, not just in the world, but especially in your eyes. Women are wired to notice each other's presence, appearance, energy, and status. When another woman walks into the room, her eyes instinctively scan how she's dressed, how she carries herself, how others react to her, especially if you react, especially if you notice. Even the most secure woman will feel something stir inside if you give another woman a little too much attention. It's not jealousy in the dramatic, insecure way. It's more primal. It's a need to know am I still the one? Am I still desired? Am I still winning? This is where most men mess up. They either try to suppress any attention toward other women in order to avoid conflict, or they become too obvious in their wandering eyes. not realizing that both reactions strip them of the power to keep her emotionally engaged. A woman doesn't need you to drool over other women to feel insecure, and she doesn't need you to pretend other women don't exist either. What she's really paying attention to is how you carry yourself around other feminine energy. Are you solid or are you swayed? Do you validate every woman you meet, or do you have standards? Do you treat her like she's one of many, or do you make her feel like she's the only one without even saying a word? The truth is, competition among women intensifies when men remain emotionally neutral but selectively attentive. A woman who knows you have options but still sees you choose her again and again, that's what makes her feel special. It's not about being rude to other women or trying to make her jealous on purpose. That backfires. It's about having enough presence that other women notice you, while your focus stays grounded on her. That balance awakens a very specific response in the female psyche, desire mixed with gratitude, edged with healthy fear of loss, and that is powerful.
Women are
far more territorial than they like to admit. But their form of territory is not just physical, it's emotional. She wants to own your emotional attention. She wants to feel like the queen of your kingdom, even when you're surrounded by other queens. That's why even subtle shifts in your tone when speaking to another woman, or the way you laugh a little too long at her joke, or compliment something a bit too personally, it doesn't go unnoticed. Her radar is sharp. She may not say anything immediately. She may even smile, but she saw it. She filed it, and she's watching closely now. The irony is that most women don't actually want men who ignore other women entirely. That signals a lack of value. What they want is a man who is aware of the attention he gets but doesn't need to chase it. A man who has access but chooses wisely. A man who respects the woman beside him without making her feel like a prison guard of his eyes and thoughts. That's emotional mastery. That's what separates boys looking for validation from men who offer it without losing themselves. A woman's desire is tied to her feeling of exclusivity. The moment she feels replaceable, the energy shifts. She may not leave physically, but emotionally she starts to detach. And once emotional detachment sets in, attraction begins to die. Not because someone else came into the picture, but because you allowed the idea of someone else to feel more alive than her. That's why the man who understands this quiet competition and uses it with integrity becomes unforgettable. He's not playing games, he's playing human nature, and human nature always follows emotion, not logic. Women are walking contradictions, and nowhere is that more obvious than in the constant pull between mystery and consistency. She wants a man who keeps her guessing, who brings a spark of unpredictability, who doesn't reveal everything too quickly. But at the same time, she wants to feel emotionally safe, grounded, and secure. She wants both chaos and calm, both the thrill of the unknown and the warmth of familiarity. Most men can't offer both. They swing to extremes. Either they're too available, too predictable, too nice, and she loses interest, or they become emotionally distant, inconsistent, and unreliable, and she loses trust. The key is in mastering the balance. The man who can do this becomes addictive, not because he's playing games, but because he understands that feminine energy doesn't want to live in boredom or in fear. It wants to dance between surprise and stability. Mystery is not about being distant or cold. It's about maintaining your individuality, your emotional independence, and your sense of direction outside of her. It's about having a life she has to earn her way into, not a life that revolves around her from day one. When a man gives away all his emotional cards too quickly, she may appreciate it in the moment, but the challenge dies. She knows where he is, what he thinks, what he wants, how he feels, all the time. There's no emotional edge left, no curiosity, no question mark. On the other hand, when a man disappears without reason, doesn't communicate consistently, or leaves her feeling emotionally unstable, that
Women are easily
also
attracted
kills
to men
attraction.
who know these things.
Women
Ever
don't
wondered how
bond through
certain men
mystery
seem to
alone.
constantly
They
get the
bond
attention
through
of women,
emotional rhythm.
whereas you're
She
usually
wants to feel a
stuck,
pulse
on
between
the
you,
first few dates.
something steady enough to lean in to, but elusive enough to keep her intrigued. Consistency doesn't mean you become robotic or routine. It means your character is stable. It means she knows who you are and that your energy doesn't shift based on her moods. It means you can flirt without losing depth. You can challenge her without disrespect, and you can disappear to handle your life without her questioning her place in it. The man who can send mixed signals intentionally and still maintain emotional presence creates a psychological hook most women can't explain. She starts wondering what you're doing, why you're not reacting the way others do, what's going on in your mind. And when a woman is thinking about you when you're not around, that's where emotional attachment begins. The mistake many men make is thinking that once they have her interest, the chase is over. They drop the mystery, they stop leading, they get comfortable. And slowly she detaches, not always physically, but emotionally, because the energy shifted. The man she was drawn to, the one who was confident, unpredictable, and solid, became someone who now chases her approval instead of holding his frame. Women want to feel chosen, but not suffocated. They want to feel secure, but not bored. They want depth, but not complete transparency. They want to explore who you are, layer by layer, not unwrap the whole package in one night. This balance is what separates men who leave an impression from men who are forgotten. It's not about being someone you're not. It's about staying rooted in your identity while inviting her into your world one step at a time. A woman who feels emotionally safe but not entirely in control of the dynamic remains engaged. Her feminine energy thrives in that tension, in that back and forth dance between certainty and surprise. When you understand this, you stop trying to impress her every minute. You start to understand that your presence is the mystery, your peace is the consistency, and when those two things align, you become the storm and the shelter she didn't know she needed. So in the end, it's not about choosing between being a mystery or being consistent. It's about being the man who knows when to be both, the man who doesn't reveal everything, but gives her enough to feel safe. The man who keeps her emotionally engaged without ever losing his center. Because when you can be the calm in her chaos and the fire in her stillness, you become unforgettable, not just to her body, but to her soul.